Hello everybody and welcome to the Thursday edition of Video Clips, and just a couple of announcements. Summer semester at the Wellness Forum Institute starts on June 3rd, and we will offer some classes associated with the Nutrition Educator program: Statistics 1, Chemistry 2, Herbal Nutrition, Maternal and Pediatric Nutrition are four of the classes that we're offering. And summertime's a great time to take like statistics or chemistry, and when you're not taking a whole bunch of other stuff. And we have just wonderful, wonderful instructors. Really encourage you to check this out. And then the Diet and Lifestyle Intervention course starts on Wednesday, June 5th. This is the one taught by Dr. Ralph Moss, Dr. John McDougall, Caldwell Esselstyn, Alan Goldhammer, me. Lots of people involved with plant-based nutrition, but also includes modules on vaccinations and musculoskeletal disorders and mental health. The total package for a healthcare practitioner that wants to practice differently. And by the way, we are expanding at the Wellness Forum. We need trained healthcare professionals, and we can't have people on the payroll who do not take this program because we have to count on them being trained. So if you're interested in information about that, contact us. All right, so I've got two great topics to talk about today, and the first one is leading by example. I am astounded when I listen to my colleagues talk about how patients won't make changes in their diet. They won't exercise. They won't lose weight. Well, one reason is they don't offer any significant advice about how to do it. You have to have structured educational programs that take people by the hand and show them what to do. That's the strength of what we do here. And then you have to support them. But another consideration is my observation that many times healthcare practitioners are asking people to do things that they themselves are not doing. Sometimes it's quite visible: overweight, unhealthy looking doctors giving advice to people, or nurses or dietitians, doesn't matter. But unhealthy, overweight people telling other people they need to shape themselves up is never going to fly. This sends the message that you should do as I say, not as I do. It's a credibility issue. But even if you've skated by looking pretty good, that doesn't solve all your problems, because it's hard to deliver the eat well and exercise message with conviction if you don't do it. And patients don't consciously process the idea that you don't have a lot of conviction, but they respond based on instinct. A passing remark made about losing weight or exercising more doesn't seem important when it's made as, well, a passing remark. Last but not least, some healthcare professionals don't even talk about it because they really know that they're not in integrity with this issue. And so we really do need to change this, and healthcare professionals need to model health. Well, studies support the fact that when practitioners practice healthy habits, this information carries through to patients. The findings of a review of 28 studies were presented at a recent conference, and here were the results. And all but one of 24 observational studies, the fitness habits of healthcare providers was predictive of their tendency to counsel patients on fitness. Four of the studies concluded that physically active doctors were between 2 and 5 times more likely to talk to patients about fitness. Go figure, right? In 2 intervention studies, docs who improved their own fitness were better at counseling patients about making positive changes, and medical students who were given training on how to improve their own health and fitness were more likely than their uneducated peers to talk about physical activity during patient exams. What a concept that would be, that not only would we teach medical students about medicine and health and science, but we would teach them self-care. Well, I think it's important for anybody who's giving healthcare advice to lead by example, and we should remember that healthcare providers should be, well, healthy. How about that for a plan? All right, I want to talk about Dr. Oz. I don't think 2 days goes by in my life I don't get an email about something that's gone on this guy's show, and I don't watch it. I mean, I suppose I could make time to watch it, but I just choose not to. But he does a great job of entertaining people. I guess I've come to the place where I've labeled Dr. Oz as an entertainer. He's just not so good at giving out medical advice. I've checked out his website. You've heard me talk about this before. It includes articles about products that I don't think any self-respecting healthcare professional would talk about, like raspberry ketones and things like that. And there just doesn't seem to be much of a scientific filter for much of what goes on the show or things that are posted on the website. I'm convinced now that the occasional guest who makes sense, like Dr. Neil Barnard has been on the show, is really the accidental occurrence in today's world on the Dr. Oz show. Now, on a recent episode, Dr. Oz claimed that eating endive, red onion, and sea bass would significantly reduce the risk of ovarian cancer, up to 75%. Now, based on what we do know about ovarian cancer, this is a ludicrous, misleading, and irresponsible claim. A woman who adds those 3 foods to a diet that includes lots of dairy products, animal foods, fat, junk foods, isn't going to reduce the risk of ovarian cancer or any other type of cancer. A recent editorial in the journal Nutrition and Cancer offered some perspective. They really took Oz to task for this, and I think we're going to see more of this, at least I hope so. The authors start by stating that the fear associated with cancer makes people particularly vulnerable to messages about easy ways to prevent it, like just eat these 3 foods and your problems will be solved. But these authors chose to take apart the presentation that Oz made, starting with endive. Well, endive is an example. It contains camphorol, a flavonoid that has been found to induce apoptosis or cell death in ovarian cancer cells. But it doesn't mean that humans consuming endive will not get ovarian cancer. And according to the article, there's only one prospective observational study on humans that looked at endive and ovarian cancer, but it included 39 foods. No association was found between other camphorol-containing foods, some of which had a higher concentration, like kale and spinach, and a risk reduction in any type of cancer. So the authors concluded that any observation of risk reduction was probably by chance. As for the claim that eating red onions could reduce the risk of cancer, it was based on equally flimsy evidence, 1 case-controlled study. 3 prospective studies found no association between red onions and ovarian cancer. Sea bass was recommended because of its high concentration of omega-3 fatty acids, but the authors state that the association between fish intake and ovarian cancer risk is not convincing, and studies have barely shown statistical significance. If the important nutrient is omega-3 fatty acids, other fish such as mackerel and salmon have higher concentrations of it. The authors state that the media uses these so-called miracle foods as a marketing tool to sell magazines, newspapers, television shows, and advertising. But the reality is people don't live on single foods. They eat according to certain dietary patterns, and the pattern is the important consideration. I'm so happy to hear more people talking about this. The researchers cite studies showing that the benefits of a superfood can be outweighed by the detrimental effects of other foods in the diet, and that even within a food there are conflicts that should be considered. Sea bass, for example, does contain omega-3 fatty acids, but it also can contain a high content of mercury. And of course that wasn't mentioned on the Dr. Oz show. Dr. Oz represents himself and his show as a credible source of information about medical care, diet, and health. And he should take this responsibility seriously. He and others like him should not be blowing one study out of proportion and making it into more than it should be. And the authors state in conclusion, quote, "Although perhaps not as sexy as Dr. Oz would like, the public needs more information about the effects of diet as a whole on cancer risk, as well as the importance of achieving and maintaining an ideal body weight, regular physical activity, and avoiding a sedentary lifestyle." Gosh, it sounds like these people work for the Wellness Farm, because that's what we've been saying for, gosh, 18 years now. Well, that's everything for this week. As always, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I will be back to you next week.